Hi, I'm Shane Dowd, the Content Services Advisor for Queensland, and today we're going to look at an introduction to the Flexible Learning Objects collection. So if we type in Flexible Learning Toolboxes, that's probably the easiest way to find the actual toolboxes themselves. So if we click on that link there, we're taken to the Flexible Learning Toolboxes website, and you'll notice that on the menu up the top here we have the Toolbox Learning Object collection. So if we take that link, then we are taken to the collection site. So you'll notice down here there is a link called Help on Using the National Repository and Learning Objects. There's a Word document there which is well worthwhile to download and have a read through that. And there's also the help desk available, as well as the content service advisor available through each of the sites. So we'll go and have a look at what is possibly on offer here. So if I click on the download button over on the right hand side, it takes us into what is known as the dashboard, and it's a way of displaying a number of different methods that we can search through toolboxes. So you'll see that there is the ability to search by keyword. So if I was to type in there healthcare, and do the search, then it would come up with all learning objects that apply to the healthcare area or have a mention of healthcare somewhere within them. Now it's important to note that when we did that search, it assumed toolbox learning objects, and there are some other categories in here you could have a look at. So all resources, e-learning for industry projects, e-learning innovations projects. So that was a previous program run by the NVELs, previously known as the Flexible Learning Framework. So there's generic learning objects, a whole range of different learning objects that you could access there. So if I turn that into all resources, do our search, you'll notice that quite a few different objects come up there. You'll be able to tell whether they are toolbox objects because they'll have a code. It's very small writing there, but underneath the name of the learning object you'll find there's a little code there. This one says toolbox code 702, whereas if it was not a toolbox object it wouldn't have that code on there. So that's one way to find out. So when you do find a learning object that you may be interested in, or if you just click on the title of it, it takes us into information about that particular learning object. So as I scroll down the screen here, as well as the title of it, you'll get a description of it, you'll get the discipline that it belongs to, the educational level that it applies to, whether it's Cert 3, Cert 4 or Diploma, the date that it was uploaded. Then there's some license information. All toolbox objects are available for use by teaching staff under Creative Commons, so the toolbox learning objects are freely available to download, customize and implement within your own environment. You'll also notice, if you're interested, there's some metadata. I won't go into that right now, but there's some useful information in there on how this object has been classified. There's also some information on a link there regarding the toolbox that this learning object came from. So if it's from a whole series of learning objects, you may be interested in the others as well. So that comes from toolbox number 702. Finally, on this page here we have the ability for you to rate the resource, so you can come back here later on and give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars and add a comment there, and you can also log in and be recorded as the owner of that comment. So back up the top of the same page we have the ability to preview that learning object. So if I go in there and we'll maximize it, on the front page you'll have the branding for the toolboxes, so that page there should remain in place, and then over on the left hand side there's a menu and you'll be able to get into the actual content that you may be interested in. So this one is to do with infection control. So if we decided that we were interested in that learning object, then we could go ahead and do the download, and we could save as, and then you choose a folder that would be suitable for your purposes. So if I set it's from let's say infection control, that becomes the name of my folder, so I can clearly remember what that's about when I come back to this folder later on. And we'll save our learning object in there. Then my learning object is underway. It's 20% downloaded. Must be it's a fairly large file. It's 25 megabytes, that file, so they normally don't take very long to download at all. So in the meantime, we will go and find where that file is being downloaded to. So if I find infection control, there it is there, and eventually the file is all downloaded. And if you intend to make any modifications to the content, I suggest you right click on that zip file that you've downloaded and have a look in the properties. Now you'll see here that there is a section down the bottom called security, and it says this file came from another computer and may be blocked to help protect this computer. If you intend making any changes to the content, I suggest you unblock that, then click apply, and then click OK. If you don't do that, when you make changes to the content, you can often find there will be problems later on. So we'll take it that that is all okay now. When I mean problems later on, I mean that it won't display properly when you're trying to show that learning object within your learner management system, for example. You'll end up with blank pages, and it all becomes back to the fact that that zip file had that security on it. So now I'm going to unzip that file. So if I double click on it, and we're going to extract all files, and I'll just go ahead and extract it to where it suggests. Once again, it's a fairly large learning object, so that will take a little while. Okay, all done. So you can see that as well as the zip file within the infection control folder, we now have another folder called 702. That's the name of the toolbox, and it's about infection control. So when you go to open up a learning object, there are two files that you'll be looking for. One is called LRN Viewer on the older style learning objects, but the one you're more likely to find is called Start Here, and this will be referred to in that Word document that I suggested you download from the repository site before. So now if I open up Start Here, you'll see that I've now opened this learning object on my computer rather than opening it through the Toolbox collection. Then here is the same material that we were looking at before, but I've now got it on my computer, and I can deploy it in a large number of ways, for example through a learner management system or on your mobile device, but I can also customize it now that I have it on my hard disk. Let's go back to the Toolbox repository that we were dealing with, though, or the Toolbox collection, and have a look at some of the other ways that we may have done that search.